Actually, I could have completed this architecture the first day, but now you know what is a repository, what is a folder, what is a source target, you know. Now what we will do is, we'll go to our first PPT. Architecture we'll see, okay. This is a PowerCenter architecture, please. This is a PowerCenter architecture. As I told you, Informatica is having two kinds of tools: server tools, client tools. Server tools, client tools. Now, what are the client tools? Repository manager. Repository manager is used to create a folder. Designer to import the source, to import the target, to create a mapping, all these things. Workflow manager to create a session, to execute the workflow. Workflow monitor is to check the status of the workflow, to check the status of the workflow. Now, suppose if you import any source, you import any database object. If you import a source, suppose import a source. I imported one source, customers. When you click on save here, save means either repository is save or control S. When you click on save, repository service will enable. When you click on save, repository service will enable and will store in the metadata tables. Where it will store? The structure of the table the structure of the source table will store in the metadata table. Where are the metadata tables? While you are installing Informatica, you could have installed this one, right? While you are installing Informatica, you could have installed InfoRepo. Did you install? While you are installing Informatica, you could have created InfoRepo.
Yes, Raj.
Yes, Raj. We created the schemas.
Tables. These are all Informatica metadata tables. While you are installing Informatica, these tables will be created by itself by Informatica. Okay. Now there will be some. 1 second, please. I'm getting a call. Just give me 1 second. So what I'm saying is, so these when I in the client tools, in a client tool, if you save any source or a target or a mapping session workflow, what it will do, repository service will enable and it will store in the Informatica system tables. Those are called Informatica predefined tables or metadata tables, or metatable tables will be in this schema which you have used for Informatica. So somewhere sources will be there, somewhere here, sources, targets, mappings, everything will be there. Okay, schema. Okay, so now sources, SRC fields, check it. Check the SRC fields. See, please, all the source fields are there. Maybe this is 1 or 2 tables. Okay, there are all these fields will be there. Metadata, these are all metadata. Source field, OPB, SRC source field, SRC location variables. Okay, subject like this. There are many tables are there. In these tables, this will go and save. So these are called repository tables or metadata tables. What are these called? Metadata tables or repository tables. Okay. So who will take the saving? Who will take the save? Repository service. Repository service will enable. That is the use of repository service. Repository service means this repository. This repository. Okay. This repository will save all these details in the Informatica metadata tables, which were available in the schema. Now, when you run, where you will run, you will go to the workflow manager. When you run, what it will happen when you run it, it should read the data from source, transform it, and load the data to target. Yes or no? Yes or no, please? Okay. This is called data processing. Who will do the data processing? Integration service. Informatica is having an integration service. While you are installing Informatica, you could have created an integration service. Yes or no? Have you created integration service?
Yes.
Yes. You could have. Yes or no, please?
Yes, sir.
You created an integration service. First, you will create a repository service. Next, you will create a integration service. Okay. So, what integration service will do? Whenever, suppose when I run the workflow like this, when I run the workflow, first repository service will enable. A repository service will give an intimation to integration service. This is a repository service. This is the integration service. INT SVCW is the integration service. So there will be no direct contact from integration service to client tools. what it will do, when you run any workflow from a client tool, then client tool will give the information to repository service. The repository service will give the intimation to integration service. Then repository service will tell to integration service that, boss, somebody are running the workflow, you please take care of it. That means from source, you extract the data, transform it and load to the target. So that is what repository service will tell to integration service. The repository service will tell to integration service. Integration service will take care of the data processing. Is right? Will take care of the data processing. Yes or no, please?
Yes,
integration service is taking place. Yes, see, integration service will take the data processing. Integration service always do the data processing row by row. There are 25 records. Each record it will process. Source to source qualifier, source qualifier to target. Like this, integration service process the data row by row. It will not process the data as a group. It will process the data row by row. Are you clear, please?
Yes.
Everybody, are you clear?
Yes, Raj.
Any doubts, please? Any doubts, guys?
Raj?
Yeah.
Raj, while creating schema, during configuration, I put the username as a repo where we have the metadata structure.
Is it your Informatica installation problem?
No, it's not an installation problem. While configuring the schema, I put the username where we have the metadata structure. Like, okay, so my table schema directly goes under this tab. So that will work or not? We can do the mapping or not?
I did not understand your question.
Actually, we configure the schema under sys, in sys, okay? Rather than sys, we have configured under infra underscore repo.
No, that's not a problem.
That's not a problem?
No problem.
Okay, because first time I put that username infra underscore repo, my schema indirectly goes under this tab, okay? So then again I created another one. So that will create a problem for me, or it will be
no problem, no problem, no issues. Yeah. Next, please. Any other doubts? Any other doubts, guys?
Hi Raj, when you give that Oracle database,
When you give the, I'll give after this class. I'll send a zip file.
Yeah,
I'll send a zip file. You can directly put it in that.
yeah, okay, thank you.
So now, did you understand how to create a mapping session workflow? How to create a ODBC connection relation?
Raj.
Yeah. Tell me.
Raj, so it looks like integration service is the main key thing that does the whole processing.
Repository service also key thing. Both are keys. Okay. Without repository service, there is no integration service. Without integration service, there is no repository service. Both should be there. Both should be there. Okay. A repository service will save it. It will save the metadata, and integration service, what it will do, it will also repository, when you run it from the client tool, repository service will enable and it will give the intimation to integration service. Integration service, yes. Without integration service, the data load will not happen. So,
Okay.
so
Can we see the?
That is why Informatica is called integration tool. That is called integration service. Yeah.
Can we see this integration service while it's running? If the data grows really big, if you want to see what it's doing,
you can use the
see the
debugger.
logs. Okay.
You can see the log. You can see session log. Right click on it, session log. I'll show you these things in the later sessions. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll show you the session log.